That's a wonderful feeling, especially when you see them smiling, and I love the fans.
Nothing's better than a musical roller coaster soaring through the soundscapes of time. From the iconic Purple Rain by Prince and the Revolution to the legendary Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, this list is full of musical masterpieces that have stood the test of time. We'll be exploring genres like never before. Let's hear the 100 greatest albums of all time. 100. Abbey Road, The Beatles. Abbey Road, the 11th album by the Beatles, was recorded as their final album and has a sense of completion. The musical prowess of the Fab Four was on full display, with Harrison's exceptional compositions of Here Comes the Sun and Something establishing him as a songwriter on par with Paul and John. 99. Nevermind, Nirvana. Similar to many notable rock albums that came before it, Nevermind disregarded authority with a smile. A generation that felt alienated and disregarded by the corporate and political powers that ruled the 1980s resonated with Kurt Cobain's forlorn attitude. Buried inside Nevermind are profound thoughts on depression, expectations, and the pointlessness of life. 98. Blonde on Blonde, Bob Dylan. Blonde on Blonde, Bob Dylan's 7th studio album, was the last of his trilogy of 1960s rock albums and was released in 1966. The album features some of Dylan's best ever poetry, as well as a blend of rock, blues, folk, and country guitar music and bizarre images. 97. Rumors, Fleetwood Mac. Pop culture has been greatly influenced by songs by Fleetwood Mac, which can be heard on the soundtracks of films like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Forrest Gump. And even in politics, where the band got back together to perform Don't Stop, the unofficial campaign theme song for Bill Clinton at his inaugural ball in 1993. 96. What's Going On, Marvin Gaye. What's Going On, Marvin Gaye's 11th studio album, is a survey of life as seen through the eyes of a Vietnam soldier making his way back to his homeland. With songs like What's Happening Brother, Save Children, Mercy Mercy Me, The Ecology, God is Love, and Flying High in the Friendly Sky, the album addresses social justice, ecology, and spirituality. 95. Blue, Joni Mitchell. One of the finest songwriters of all time, Joni Mitchell was solidified as a result of her 1971 album, Blue. After her breakup with Graham Nash and the start of her romance with James Taylor, Mitchell is shown on the album as she stands at the crossroads of two passionate whirlwinds. Numerous tracks on the album highlight Taylor's vocals, and it is considered one of the best albums ever made. 94. London Calling, The Clash. Many people consider The Clash's London Calling album from 1979 to be among the best albums ever recorded. Punk, ska, reggae, new wave, R&B, and other genres are all combined on the record, along with intricate experimentation and socio-political commentary. Songs like Lost in the Supermarket and Rudy Can't Fail are included on the CD. 93. The Velvet Underground and Nico, The Velvet Underground. Produced by Andy Warhol, The Velvet Underground's 1967 self-titled debut album was revolutionary and is recognized as one of the most significant records in rock history. Only a few hundred copies of the record were sold during its release because it was art rock at its best and so revolutionary. Nonetheless, they rank among the most significant bands in rock history as of the 21st century. 92. Pet Sounds, The Beach Boys. Co-founder of the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson, produced a work of art that altered the definition of the term. He created his own genius, which produced a sound that was entirely new. Pop turned Baroque, rock turned orchestral, with some of the most exquisitely melancholic lyrics and unbelievably beautiful harmonies in history, swirling around a psychedelic grandeur. 91. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, The Beatles. Pop history was created when the most well-known band in the world adopted aliases and made their 9th studio album. The Beatles anticipated that Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which was released in June 1967, would fulfill their touring needs as a concept album. They stopped touring and started a studio band because they were tired of the road and the yelling fans. 90. OK Computer. Radiohead. Many people consider Radiohead's 1997 album, OK Computer, to be one of the most important releases of the 1990s and 2000s. It was a pivotal and defining moment for the band. The album is mystical in nature and a flawless culmination of Radiohead. 89. Horses. Patti Smith. Horses, Patti Smith's debut album, is a rebellious and irreverent statement against civilization. Smith was dubbed the godmother of punk for the album, but she was always more of a poet than a punk. Her incredibly poetic compositions made allusions to Rimbaud and Verlaine, giving each syllable a distinct significance. 88. Remain in Light. Talking Heads. Remain in Light, Talking Heads' 4th album, is considered by many to be their best. One of the best songs ever recorded, Once in a Lifetime, is featured on the album. It significantly broadened the band's sound and ultimately saved them. The band members were thinking about splitting up before they recorded because of creative issues. 87. The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. David Bowie. The classic glam rock album is this one. Many more excellent ones, from T-Rex's Electric Warrior to Mott the Hoople's All the Young Dudes, David Bowie was the master of it all. Bowie achieved unprecedented success by allowing his alter ego, Ziggy Stardust, to rule the stage. He also happened to record one of the greatest concept records ever while doing this. 86. Led Zeppelin IV. Led Zeppelin. Technically unnamed, Led Zeppelin's 4th album was released in 1971 and is still a tremendous, influential powerhouse more than 50 years later. The album, which is recognized as one of the best rock albums of all time, has 7 instantly identifiable songs, such as The Battle of Evermore, Stairway to Heaven, and When the Levee Breaks. 85. Let It Bleed. The Rolling Stones. Many people consider the Rolling Stones' 1969 album, their 8th long player in the UK and 10th in the US, to be the most important of that decade. Beggar's Banquet, 1968, marked the beginning of the Stones' re-embrace of blues and other American roots traditions, and the album is a triumph of their fierce creative ingenuity. 84. Dark Side of the Moon. Pink Floyd. Many people consider Pink Floyd's 1973 album, The Dark Side of the Moon, to be among the best albums ever recorded. Money, Time, and Brain Damage are just a few of the greatest rock hits ever. The album is expertly produced and designed. 83. Born to Run. Bruce Springsteen. Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen's 1975 album, is an ode to all those losers and working-class anti-heroes from Jersey and beyond. The stories on the album depict common people in dramatic and expansive ways, lending the record an epic narrative quality unseen in American rock and roll. 82. Master of Puppets, Metallica. Following a clear pattern that started with their 1983 debut album, Kill 'Em All, and continued with the more sophisticated thrash of 1984's Ride the Lightning, Metallica released their 1986 album, Master of Puppets. When Metallica returned to the studio in 1985, they were physically capable of penning and performing songs that were even more ambitious and complex than those on Ride the Lightning. 81. Hounds of Love. Kate Bush. The 1985 album Hounds of Love by Kate Bush is a work of musical art and proof of her extraordinary commitment to recording an album until it's perfect. She used her personal studio to compose and produce the entire album herself. It dethroned Madonna's Like a Virgin as the top album in the UK charts. 80. Ramones. The Ramones. Regarded as one of the best punk albums ever, the Ramones' self-titled debut album from 1976 was the first real punk record. The CD, which is 29 minutes of pure punk joy, has 14 tracks, including Blitzkrieg Bop, Beat on the Brat, I Wanna Be Your Boyfriend, and 53rd and 3rd. 79. Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine. The 1992 release of Rage Against the Machine's self-titled debut album was a fierce and poignant blend of hip-hop and rock. Full-speed rock with elements of heavy metal, funk, and blues, along with politically charged lyrics by frontman Zack de la Rocha, are included on the album. Many people consider the album to be among the best albums ever made. 78. Paranoid. Black Sabbath. Many people believe that Black Sabbath's 1970 album Paranoid is the one that best embodied the heavy metal aesthetic. The focus of the album is on atmosphere and riffs. The template is set on the opening track War Pigs, which has huge drum fills by Bill Ward, slinky riffs by Tony Iommi, and instantly identifiable vocals by frontman Ozzy Osbourne. 77. Songs in the Key of Life. Stevie Wonder. Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder's 1976 album, was a masterpiece that was more than the sum of its parts. Wonder's hopeful worldview, which saw the possibility of a type of paradise beyond the grim reality of village ghetto land and black man, was finally expressed in this album. 76. Kind of Blue, Miles Davis. Many people consider Miles Davis's 1959 album King of Blue to be among the best jazz albums ever recorded. The album is still full of energy, with every track sounding as genuine and lively as it did when it was first recorded more than 60 years ago. This is the ideal record to spend a rainy day listening to. 75. Thriller, Michael Jackson. Many people consider Michael Jackson's 1982 album Thriller to be among the best albums ever recorded. The album includes Paul McCartney and Eddie Van Halen collaborations, as well as hits like Thriller and Billie Jean, which revolutionized a number of pop culture elements. With a staggering 20 million copies sold, the album is the best-selling record of all time. 74. Back in Black, AC/DC. The band made a comeback with Back in Black, their 1980 album, following the passing of frontman Bon Scott. Brian Johnson, who sang on the album, was a fantastic fit because of his gravelly, swagger-filled voice. Most people agree that this album is among the best hard rock records ever made. 73. Hunky Dory, David Bowie. Hunky Dory, David Bowie's fourth album, was released in 1971 and was the first to have the lineup that would later form the Spiders from Mars. The record promoted a more carefree acoustic pop style and laid the groundwork for a large portion of Bowie's 1970s output. 72. I Put a Spell on You, Nina Simone. The lyrics of Nina Simone's 1965 album, I Put a Spell on You, are rife with love themes and include corny string arrangements. In spite of this, Simone never loses focus on her goal of eliminating Jim Crow America and merely modifies her strategies to exhibit unquestionable black excellence. 71. Unknown Pleasures, Joy Division. Unknown Pleasures, Joy Division's debut album, is among the saddest albums in music history. When it was released in June 1979, it instantly became the greatest summer album ever. The striking, recognizable cover image for the CD has unsettling sound waves that resemble sharp razor blades. Martin Hannett's precise yet gritty production of the album contributes to its distinctive tone. 70. After the Gold Rush, Neil Young. Fans of all facets of Neil Young will like his third studio album, After the Gold Rush, which is chock full of timeless songs about mystery and heartache. This album features some of Young's best songs, including the ethereal title track and the always moving Only Love Can Break Your Heart. 69. Exile on Main Street, The Rolling Stones. The greatest aspects of R&B, blues, and country music may be found on the Rolling Stones album, Exile. You are thrown into a frantic frenzy by the pleasant feeling of having been recorded in Richard's basement, and all you can do is listen. Songs like Happy and Tumbling Dice are still mainstays of the group's live repertoire. 68. The Joshua Tree, U2. Though The Joshua Tree is a love letter to America, a supernova of love is at the center of the story. In the stirring song, I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, Bono surrenders to his doubts and falls at Christ's feet. The slow, melancholic ballad, Running to Stand Still, is filled with worry and anguish. 67. Disintegration, The Cure. Robert Smith recorded The Cure's strongest and most ambitious album, Disintegration, in an effort to break away from the group's earlier, more cheerful and pop-oriented songs. Disintegration, which Smith penned amid his psychedelic-fueled despondency, is a return to the band's deeper, melancholy tone, evoking the sound of their fourth album, Pornography. 66. The Low End Theory, A Tribe Called Quest. The Low End Theory, the second album by A Tribe Called Quest, is regarded as a classic and has influenced numerous other musicians. The album has a minimalist sound with largely bass, drums, and straightforward loops making up its beats. The reason for Fife's rise is that the rhymes are stronger and less esoteric than on their debut album. 65. Back to Black, Amy Winehouse. Back to Black, Amy Winehouse's second and last album, is a 35-minute record that exemplifies the strength and clarity of her amazing, vulnerable vision. The album is a blend of modern R&B sounds, retro girl group pop soul, and her own unique attitude. 64. Synchronicity, The Police. With their album Synchronicity, The Police, the biggest band in the world, made a risky decision to not only end their career while at the top of the mountain, but also to completely alter public perception of them. The record, which blends punk, jazz, and reggae, is regarded as one of the best of its time. 63. In Rainbows, Radiohead. The 2007 self-released album In Rainbows by Radiohead features a distinctive fusion of rock genres. Compared to Hail to the Thief, the album is a more resolute return to rock and combines gritty origins with electro art pop. 62. Loveless, My Bloody Valentine. It's hard to imagine Loveless's creators having produced anything other than shoegaze, since the song is so closely associated with the style. My Bloody Valentine tried their hand at goth rock a la Joy Division and jangle pop a la C86 before settling on shoegaze in the late 1980s and honing it with their follow-up album in 1991. 61. Songs of Leonard Cohen, Leonard Cohen. The lyrics of Leonard Cohen's debut album, Songs of Leonard Cohen, are thoughtfully personal and have understated guitar tones. The late 1960s psychedelic vibe that Cohen's music avoided makes his speech all the more effective. Similar to his peers Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell, Cohen's initial release indicated that he was a permanent fixture. 60. The Queen is Dead, The Smiths. This record is a timeless classic because of Morrissey's sarcastic and clever lyrics about love, the sense of perpetual loneliness but the lack of desire to ever overcome it, and Johnny Marr's distinctive guitar playing. Ever melodious and featuring Morrissey's instantly recognizable baritone voice, the lyricism is dark, witty, melancholy, and self-deprecating. 59. Crazy Sexy Cool, TLC. Crazy Sexy Cool, TLC's second album, was released on November 15, 1994. The trio reformed for the album, working with new members Organized Noise and Chucky Thompson, in addition to producers Dallas Austin, Kenneth Babyface Edmonds, and Jermaine Dupri. Sean Puffy Combs also contributed, helping to create the album's distinctive hip-hop soul style. It has hip-hop beats, funk, deep grooves, driving rhythms, and smooth production. 58. Baduizm, Erykah Badu. On February 11, 1997, Erykah Badu's debut album, Baduizm, was made available. Some of the album's well-known and respected R&B hits are Tyrone, Next Lifetime, and On and On. Baduizm went on to win Badu a number of accolades, including the 1998 Grammy Award for Best R&B Album. 57. Straight Outta Compton, NWA. Straight Outta Compton, the band's debut album, was released on August 8, 1988. Dr. Dre, DJ Yella, Arabian Prince, and Ice Cube produced the album, which also had features from Eazy-E, MC Ren, and Dr. Dre. The album's sparse rhythms and Arabian Prince and DJ Yella's scratching helped popularize gangsta rap. 56. Heaven and Earth, Kamasi Washington. The epic Kamasi Washington's major label debut was followed up by Heaven and Earth, his album released in 2018. Tony Austin, Ronald Burner Jr., Terrace Martin, Miles Mosley, Cameron Graves, Patrice Quinn, and Thundercat are among the artists who contributed to the album. June 22, 2018 saw its release via Young Turks Recordings. 55. 21. Adele. On January 24, 2011, Adele's second studio album, 21, was made available. It was unusual for an emotive, occasionally gloomy, bluesy, melancholic record to not only perform well on the charts, but also hold the title of best-selling record for 2 years in a row. Therefore, the album's success was unexpected. It topped sales charts in over 30 countries and supported the industry's transition from physical to streaming sales by bringing physical sales back to life. 54. Journey in Sachidananda, Alice Coltrane. Journey in Sachidananda is undoubtedly Coltrane's most revered album, even though it wasn't the first one she released as a solo artist after her husband passed away. This spirituality-inspired piece is both ethereal and raw, transporting you to the earthly fine grit of Pharoah Sanders' soprano saxophone and the gentle lyrical majesty of clouds via John Coltrane's harp and piano. 53. Toxicity, System of a Down. September 4, 2001 saw the release of Toxicity, System of a Down's second album. The album's mellow, erratic, yet seductive sound pushed the limits of heavy music. Hit songs from the album such as Chop Suey, Toxicity, Aerials, and other songs helped the album reach multi-platinum status. 52. Let It Be, The Replacements. On October 2, 1984, The Replacements released their third album, Let It Be. After receiving positive reviews from critics, Rolling Stone and AllMusic named the album one of the best of the 1980s. Unlike many other post-punk recordings with teenage themes, Let It Be's coming-of-age theme is centered around adolescence and adulthood, but it also includes humor and a wider range of musical styles. 51. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, Smashing Pumpkins. Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, the double album by Smashing Pumpkins, was released on October 23, 1995. The 28 songs on the CD span the entire spectrum of femininity and masculinity, from gossamer whimsicalness to aggressive ferocity. Even more magic from those sessions may be found in the box set, The Aeroplane Flies High. 50. Dookie, Green Day. On February 1, 1994, Green Day's third studio album, Dookie, was made available. The album combined the grunge aesthetic with the anti-establishment qualities of its punk rock origins, all supported by appealing pop tunes and hooks. The songs touched on a wide range of topics, including bisexuality, anxiety attacks, and masturbation, making Green Day seem like the mainstream punk band of today. 49. Bridge Over Troubled Water, Simon and Garfunkel. The title tune and The Boxer from Simon and Garfunkel's last album together are two of their most well-known songs. 1 year after its debut, it received 6 Grammy Awards and topped album charts in 10 different nations. 48. Stand, Sly and the Family Stone. A mainstay of the funk genre is Sly and the Family Stone, and Stand was the pinnacle of their professional success. With over 500,000 copies sold in 1969 and over 2 years on the Billboard 200, it is unquestionably a genre classic and one of the most successful albums of the 1960s. 47. Hotel California, Eagles. Album of the Year would have gone to Hotel California if it weren't for Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. Fair enough, the title tune did win Record of the Year. Only surpassed by a greatest hits collection, it is the Eagles' second best-selling album with over 32 million copies sold worldwide. 46. Doolittle, Pixies. Doolittle contains depictions of torture and death, so it's not for the weak of heart. It was one of the greatest albums of the 1980s and has continuously sold well since its 1988 debut. The album has remained a key part of alt-rock history, with 2 of its songs reaching the top of contemporary rock charts. 45. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John. Known as the British singer's greatest opus, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road blends motifs from his past works to create a sound that is uniquely Elton John. The album has sold over 20 million copies, and comparable figures are being reported for singles like Candle in the Wind and the title tune. 44. A Love Supreme, John Coltrane. Probably the only album on this list that was recorded in a single session is A Love Supreme. This 4-part piece is representative of post-World War II jazz music. This is John Coltrane's second album to be inducted into the National Recording Registry of the Library of Congress. 43. Legend, Bob Marley and the Wailers. With more than 25 million copies sold worldwide, Bob Marley and the Wailers' Legend is the best-selling reggae album of all time. It has appeared in the top 100 of the UK albums chart for 1,106 weeks, and the US Billboard 200 albums chart for a total of 805 non-consecutive weeks. 42. The Downward Spiral, 9 Inch Nails. The Downward Spiral introduced 9 Inch Nails to the rock scene, and they went on to become one of the most influential and copied bands of the 1990s. Although harsh to some, the album was adored by many and had a significant impact. 41. Illmatic, Nas. One of the other most important hip-hop records on the East Coast was Illmatic. Over the years, the lyrical and biographical material have garnered multiple distinctions. Therefore, despite having almost the same sales numbers as many other artists on this list, it is still regarded as one of the greatest because of the immense influence and standing as one of the best in hip-hop history. 40. A Night at the Opera, Queen. The 4th studio album by British rock group Queen, titled A Night at the Opera, was released on November 21, 1975. When it was released, it was supposedly the most costly album ever recorded. The production, instrumentation, and styles on the record are very diverse. It is eligible for induction into the Grammy Hall of Fame and features the popular song Bohemian Rhapsody. 39. The Chronic, Dr. Dre. The Chronic, Dr. Dre's first solo album, was released on December 15, 1992. The album introduced the G-Funk subgenre of gangsta rap and spent 8 months within the top 10 Billboard charts. In terms of West Coast hip-hop as a whole, it is among the most significant albums. 38. The Sun Sessions, Elvis Presley. The Sun Sessions, an album compiled of Elvis Presley's first commercial recordings, was recorded in 1954 and 1955 for Sun Records in Memphis, Tennessee. Following its release in 1976, the album debuted at the top of the Billboard Country Albums chart and at number 2 on the Cashbox Country Albums chart. 37. Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses' debut album, was first a commercial flop. However, the album became a financial success as the band embarked on a year-long tour. Over 30 million copies of the album have been sold worldwide, making it the 7th best-selling album of all time in the US, thanks to its hit singles which include Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child O' Mine, and Paradise City. 36. I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, Aretha Franklin. I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You by Aretha Franklin is a huge hit both critically and commercially. Franklin transitioned from jazz to soul on the new record, which had a significant impact on the genre. Rolling Stone lists Respect, the album's big track, as the greatest song of all time, and it became Franklin's hallmark tune. 35. Are You Experienced? Jimi Hendrix. Most people agree that Jimi Hendrix was one of the best guitar players in history, if not the best ever. Rock history was altered by his tremendously inventive debut album as the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Are You Experienced peaked at number 2 after 33 weeks on the UK album charts, but it topped the US Billboard Top LPs chart for a staggering 105 weeks. 34. Saturday Night Fever, Bee Gees. The Saturday Night Fever album by the Bee Gees served as the music for the same titled movie released in 1977. It spawned 3 #1 singles, How Deep Is Your Love, Stayin' Alive, and Night Fever, and it spent 120 weeks on Billboard's album rankings. With over 40 million copies sold, the record was the best-selling album of all time until Michael Jackson's Thriller came out. 33. Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers, Wu-Tang Clan. November 9, 1993 saw the release of Wu-Tang Clan's debut album, Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers. The album solidified their status as one of the best rappers from the East Coast scene and set the standard for hardcore hip-hop throughout the 90s. In its first week of release, it sold over 30,000 copies and peaked at number 41 on the Billboard 200. 32. London Calling, The Clash. London Calling is a double album by The Clash that blends new wave and punk rock. The album's title single was included in the list of top 20 singles, and it peaked in the UK's top 10. 2010 saw the cover appear on a postage stamp issued by the UK. 31. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, Lauryn Hill. August 25, 1998 saw the release of Lauryn Hill's first solo album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. It shattered the record for the most first-week sales by a female artist when it debuted at the top of the Billboard 200. It has received a diamond certification from the RIAA and is listed in the National Recording Registry of the Library of Congress, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and other notable collections. 30. Ready to Die, Notorious B.I.G. The first and only studio album to be released by the Notorious B.I.G. before his untimely death in 1997, Ready to Die is ranked by many as the greatest hip-hop album of all time. Certified 6 times platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America in 2018, the album was an instant commercial success for him and made him an instant star in the hip-hop scene. 29. Sign o' the Times, Prince. Prince's double album, Sign o' the Times, which touches on pop and soul music among other genres, is a demonstration of his artistic vision and versatility. It was a global top 10 success album that became considered as one of the best R&B records before hip-hop took over, inspiring a number of documentaries and movies. 28. Blood on the Tracks, Bob Dylan. Blood on the Tracks, Bob Dylan's album, is regarded as one of his greatest. It finally earned an admission into the Grammy Hall of Fame after peaking at number 1 in the US and number 4 in the UK album charts. The record delves into his personal life and struggles, providing a platform for a remarkable songwriter to be authentic in their emotions. 27. Purple Rain, Prince and the Revolution. The soundtrack to the 1984 film of the same name included Prince's album Purple Rain. It was his first album to debut at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and the most pop-oriented of his releases. It was added to the National Recording Registry of the Library of Congress and inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. 26. Revolver, The Beatles. Revolver, the Beatles' 7th studio album, is renowned for its wide diversity of musical styles and sounds, making it one of the most well-known records ever. It was also their most experimental record, marking their first foray into the realm of studio technology, layering songs, and upending conventional studio procedures. It was one of their best-selling albums ever and provided another hit single for them. 25. The Wall, Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd's final album recorded as a quartet, The Wall, was also one of their best-selling. Based on the character Pink, the rock opera sold more than 30 million copies and went on to become one of the best-selling albums of all time, thanks to hits like Brick in the Wall, Comfortably Numb, and Run Like Hell. Even now, it continues to be the all-time best-selling double album. 24. Graceland, Paul Simon. One of the most divisive albums on our list is Graceland, which was released by Paul Simon in violation of the cultural boycott of South Africa during the apartheid era. But following a protracted depressive episode, he recorded an album featuring an amazing range of genres. It is still his best-selling studio album and was named Record of the Year at the 1987 Grammy Awards. 23. Harvest, Neil Young. Harvest, Neil Young's CD, features a who's who of folk music. James Taylor, Stephen Stills, David Crosby, and Graham Nash were all featured on one or more of the tracks. In 2 of the tracks, the London Symphony Orchestra even made an appearance. It generated the number 1 smash single Heart of Gold and peaked at number 1 on the Billboard 200. The album is still Neil Young's best-selling record, and it was honored with a Grammy Hall of Fame induction. 22. The Score, Fugees. Due in large part to the studio and sampling techniques that dominated the 1990s hip-hop movement, The Score is considered one of the most influential albums in the history of the genre. It was recognized as the Best Rap Album Grammy Award winner and was included in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's list of 200 definitive albums. 21. Post, Bjork. A diverse blend of electronic and dance genres, including techno, trip-hop, IDM, and house, as well as ambient, jazz, industrial, and experimental music, can be heard on Bjork's audacious and outgoing album, Post, the strangest, most bizarre Billboard 200 anomaly to ever achieve platinum status. 20. Red, Taylor Swift. Although Taylor Swift is currently one of the most well-known musicians in the world, her rise to megastardom started with her Red album. It made her the first female artist to have 3 consecutive albums spend at least 6 weeks at the top of the Billboard 200, and it touched on a wide range of genres outside of her signature sound of country and pop. 19. Astral Weeks, Van Morrison. Astral Weeks, Van Morrison's album, is a musical temple that combines blue-eyed soul, jazz, and folk. Morrison performed the songs to the gathering musicians during the 2 8-hour recording sessions, after which he gave them free rein to record the album how they saw fit. With its double bass, classic guitar, and flute accompaniment, Morrison's stream of conscious lyrics create an emotionally impactful record unlike any other in the rock and pop genre. 18. We Are Family, Sister Sledge. Mellow ballads interspersed with a floor-filling dance celebration is Sister Sledge's album, We Are Family. Classic tunes were flowing from the pen of Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards, who were at the height of their abilities. Lost in Music, He's the Greatest Dancer, Thinking of You, and the album's title tune are 4 of them. 17. Surfer Rosa, Pixies. The Pixies' enormous masterpiece, Surfer Rosa, their debut album, took the sound of rock and roll and pieced it back together. The dynamics of the album, loud, quiet, loud, would become so powerful that Kurt Cobain of Nirvana would later claim he was basically trying to rip off the Pixies. 16. Dusty in Memphis, Dusty Springfield. The CD Dusty in Memphis by Dusty Springfield is a masterwork of soft rock and soul that demonstrates the influence of love on your dreams and recollections. Her openness enables her to pour her heart and emotions into every song, taking listeners on a somber yet hopeful trip into her complex mind. Her gentle voice enhances the richness of the feelings she touches on in the record. 15. ATLiens, Outkast. The brilliant album ATLiens by Outkast demonstrates the group's progression in hip-hop. Their tone and pace were rhythmic, elevating their somber songs about existential crisis and loneliness. The repressive nature of America's past and present is just one of several topics covered in the album. It offers a forum for knowledge and inspiration about how their community may free itself from the restraints that were enforcing it. It is a real testament to survival. 14. In My Own Time, Karen Dalton. Karen Dalton's ability to take well-known songs and give them a dry, cracked folk blues twist is genuine. It doesn't seem forced. She succeeded in extending the emotional and narrative range of songs such as Percy Sledge's When a Man Loves a Woman. Why has the world been so slow to recognize her worth? 13. Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music, Ray Charles. A masterwork that combines R&B and country music is Ray Charles' album, Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music. The album's production was so well executed that it had its own seamless sound. It became a famous model in both country and R&B due to the harmony of sounds, which was further enhanced by the accompaniment of a band and choir. Beyond its composition, this album demonstrated the potential and strength of artistic freedom. 12. Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z. Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z's debut album, is a masterpiece that honors Brooklyn and his experiences growing up on the streets. Jay-Z's record established him as a youthful urban leader and an inspiration, as his sometimes arrogant lyrics stoked a passion in his audience. It marked the beginning of Jay-Z's legacy and brand. 11. Private Dancer, Tina Turner. Another inspirational album from the 80s is Tina Turner's Private Dancer, an emotionally charged compilation of rebellion and self-power. The album is an uncommon masterpiece that results from Tina Turner's nonconformity and haughtiness. Her confident and raspy vocals infuse each tune with energy and personality, engrossing you in the words and narratives on the album. It's a liberation and freedom record. 10. Hatful of Hollow, The Smiths. The English rock group The Smiths released their compilation album Hatful of Hollow on November 12, 1984 through Rough Trade Records. Tracks from BBC Radio 1 sessions, their debut single Hand in Glove, which was featured on their debut album in a different mix, 2 new singles, and their B-sides are all included on the CD. 9. The Doors. The Doors. Blues and funk were incorporated into the Doors' complex sound to create a psychedelic rock masterpiece that redefined the genre. Lyrics covering the themes of lust and discovery are vocalized on the CD. The Doors demonstrated that art does not require a listener to relate to it in order to be understood. 8. Tapestry, Carole King. Tapestry, Carole King's album is a masterwork that features soul-shaking anthems and love ballads derived from pure artistic expression. Songs on the album support the listener's journey toward trauma recovery, transformation, and self-love. Tapestry is a living example of how music can heal both the artist and the listener, thanks to Carole King's spirit and wisdom gained from her intimacy on the record. 7. Folk singer, Muddy Waters. Folk singer, Muddy Waters' gritty and unvarnished record cemented his status as a blues titan. His electric guitar's shaping tones fill the background as his voice captures the anguish of his lyrics. When blues was highly ingrained in rock and roll at the time, Muddy Waters used his love of the blues to inspire an album that returned the genre to its origins. 6. Live at the Apollo, James Brown. James Brown and his reliable ensemble, the famous Flames, put on a captivating live presentation that is captured brilliantly on his CD Live at the Apollo, a masterpiece. The album solidified his place as a top R&B artist and was a huge commercial and critical triumph. It radiates the rhythm and blues' general flexibility and tone, as well as James Brown's influence on the genre. 5. Here's Little Richard. Little Richard. Here's Little Richard. Little Richard's album is a strong example of how charisma and skill can come together to create a dynamic piece of music. This record is among the best of all time because of Little Richard's distinctive high-pitched voice, disorganized speech, and wailing at the conclusion of lines. It is coupled with unprocessed instrumentation and soulful background voices to give you a body high that lasts long after the album. 4. Otis Blue, Otis Redding. Otis Blue, Otis Redding's album, is a tender and unpolished masterwork that honors music's historical roots. Otis Redding's ability was on full display in the album's mix of slow jams and fast songs, with the accompaniment serving as a red carpet for his vocals. His emotive voice could transform any music, and listeners could feel the impact in their spirits. 3. Whitney Houston, Whitney Houston. With a blend of its lively and modern songs, Whitney Houston's self-titled album is a heartbreaking and entrancing masterpiece that ignites the romantic and lover in every listener. The singer's openness enables listeners to connect with her gentle and unadulterated feelings as she travels through a journey of love and self-discovery. The singer was recognized by Whitney Houston as one of the greatest vocalists of all time, and this helped to highlight the influence of modern R&B. 2. The White Album, The Beatles. The Beatles were able to fully express their creativity thanks to their self-titled album, sometimes referred to as the White Album. The album served as a tool for musical exploration. The group produced a unified work of art that completely changed how an album should look. The White Album demonstrated that the possibilities for creation are endless when you fully embrace unrestricted imagination. 1. Off the Wall, Michael Jackson. With the help of his well-rounded album Off the Wall, Michael Jackson earned his rightful title as the King of Pop. Jackson had never been more charming, self-assured, or free. The CD was merely a farewell to disco. Michael's smooth voice layered upbeat and vibrant sounds that elevated the decade's musical quality and revealed a more multifaceted and expressive musician to audiences. Every song's subdued usage of funk and soul uplifts your mood and encourages you to boogie all the way through. Those are the top 100 greatest albums of all time. What's your all-time favorite album? And do you think it made the cut on our list? Drop it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.